In this video, I'm going to explain how layers work within Photoshop. First of all, this image I think is quite a good way of explaining it. The way layers work is a bit like different sheets of acetate built one on top of another, and then the different component parts of your document are on each of those layers. The idea being that it gives you a lot more flexibility when it comes to editing because you can just focus on one layer at a time. So I'm going to show you now how this works within Photoshop. So I've already got a new document opened up, which I've explained in a previous video. Now layers are over here on the right, and you'll see that I've already got layer 0, which is the background sheet basically. So that's our one and only layer. You'll notice that it's currently got a padlock on it, which just means that it's locked. You can't make any changes to that specific layer. You can just lock it or unlock it and lock it again. So I'm going to start adding things to this document, and you'll see how the layers start to build up. So first of all, I think I'm going to add an image to it. So I'm just going to drag an image on, make it a little bit bigger. So I'm not going to talk about any of the other tools that I'm using. I'm just focusing on layers because that's what this video is about. So you'll notice that I've added in that image. There is a second layer. And it's called Andy Goldsworthy because that's what the photograph was named within my folder. It is good practice to name your layers just because it means it's easier to keep track of each layer as they start to build up. If you've been working on quite a big document, you will end up with an awful lot of layers. And if you suddenly think, oh, actually, I want to change that bit, then it's really important that you can identify which layer it's on. So if you need to change the name of a layer, say for example, I want to change this, you just double click on it and then change the name. So I might call that background and look it again. Now I think I'll add some text. So I'm going to use the text tool. It's really important to bear in mind that the order that you see the layers in over here, that's really important. So basically, if it's at the top on over here, it's on the top on the page. So at the moment, the image is above the text. So for example, if I move that over there, can you see that the image is above the text? However, if I move it so that it's the other way around, reorder them, now the text is above the image. So that's how it works in terms of ordering. Also, you will notice that there are some eyes over here next to each layer. Now that's basically just gives you the option to hide a layer. So it might be that you're working on a document, a particular image is sort of, you want to keep it, but maybe it's sort of in your way. You can, or you might want to see what it looks like without that image, without getting rid of it. So it's a really easy way of just removing it, and then you can just bring it back again. Another really important thing to bear in mind with layers is you need to have the layer selected when you edit it. If you try and edit something but you have a different layer selected, the Photoshop document will think that you want to edit that one instead, and it'll get rather confusing. So if I want to edit this bit, the text, I can't at the moment because I've got the picture selected. So I need to make sure that I've got the text selected, and then it might be that I go back in and I can make changes to that, for example. A couple of other things to bear in mind. Basically, every time you add something new into your document, it will create it as a new layer. If you want to just create a new layer yourself, just like as a blank layer, you'll notice here in the corner, it looks like a page where the corner is turned up, create a new layer. So I've just clicked on that, layer 1, and obviously it doesn't look like I've done anything because it's like a blank sheet of acetate. But say, for example, I click on layer 1 and I choose a colour. It goes that colour, but can you see, because my layer's at the top, it's covered over everything. But if I now drag that behind my other two documents, my image and my text, then you can see that it's behind them on the actual work. And then equally, it might be that you think, oh, actually, I don't need that layer anymore. I think I'll delete it. So say if I decide I don't want that, you'll notice there's a tiny little bin down here. So I'm going to drag it into the bin. It might be that you want to copy a layer or duplicate it. So say if I want to use that image twice, or I want to use that text twice, you can right click on the layer, go to duplicate layer. You can rename it here. I mean, it comes up with copy, so it's probably fine to just leave it as that, but you could rename it. And now you can see I've got two versions of it, and I can move that down, and I've got two versions. I think that's all that I wanted to show you for layers. Hopefully that makes sense.